Okay, welcome back, Bill James. If you haven't already watched the first video in our series, make sure you do. It's in the previous blog post. But to welcome Bill back and give him a bit of an introduction, he is the master of referrals. He's been in the insurance industry for years and years and years, starting out at 26 as a national sales manager, not a bad age to start off. He also did 10 years as an advisor, leading the industry in referrals. He was averaging 7.7 per week from everyone from professionals to current clients, which is quite a feat. And writing over 200 policies each and every year. You know, I'm sure sitting there you wouldn't mind doing the same thing. Now, Bill, are you still active in the insurance industry?
Look, I think you've got to respect all the legislation. It would be probably 4 or 5 years ago I had to really say, am I in or am I out? I don't think you can play in the industry anymore. I think you've got to give it the kudos it deserves, get the letters behind your name, observe the legislation. And because I was very active in the speaking role, the last 3 or 4 years I've been New Zealand Speaker of the Year and those sort of nice accolades. That's where my focus was. I'm still active from the point of view of training though, at insurance company level, at producer group level, and also within brokers, and occasionally the individual. So it's a lovely industry. It fits like a glove. I really enjoy getting back into it because I think it's a hugely misunderstood industry that does an awful lot of good. It just doesn't get the accolades it deserves.
Well, fantastic. No, I completely agree. It's one of these, we always say it's one of the least educated client markets because to get people in front of them. You know, it's just not easy. And this is where referrals come in. If you can leverage the trust of a referral, you're always going to do better, aren't you?
You are.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, let's dig in. So the question I have in this series is the obvious question. You know, what's the one thing, let's say the one thing you would do when it comes to referring to improve the referrals that you are getting? What's the one thing?
The one thing? Interesting. Let me turn it back on you. What do you think it is?
Oh, like for us at Marketing for Advisors, we talk to advisors a lot about awareness, because awareness matters heavily in people choosing to refer you. If people only see someone once a year for a review, they're less likely to get referrals. So using mechanical automated systems, you can stay front of mind and kind of put yourself in front of them. So like that's one of the biggest things I personally think is, but I'd love to hear your take.
Look, we've got two sides to this. We might actually do another blog on mechanical referral techniques.
Perfect.
But number one thing surprises people, because when I ask this, people say, oh, you know, you've got to deserve it, you've got to ask, you've got to... Yep. The number one thing is to actually make it a process. It's got to stop happening by accident. Now, if you think of any successful sales process or part of a process, it happens because you do it and you do it regularly and you get better and better at it. I always love the quote from Bruce Lee, I don't fear the man that knows 10,000 techniques. I fear the man that knows one technique and has practiced 10,000 times. If you want to get good at something like referrals, you have to make it a regular part. If you go and see 10 or 12 people a week, then you have to sit there and go, I need to actually make sure that 8 to 10 of those people, allowing 2 or 3 that I don't want to ask, or I'm not quite at that stage yet, because some customers always keep you at arm's distance. But you have to sit there and go, look, 3/4 of my customers have to have this referral conversation, minimum. And I've worked with people who won't go and see clients until they confirm that they have referrals and recommendations for them. They take it that strongly.
Wow.
So it has to become part of a process. So let me demonstrate or give you some ideas around that. Working with an accounting firm, we put it in as part of the mandate that the client signed when they actually became a client. Wow. And so as part of the letter of understanding that they worked through, one of the paragraphs was, you will actively recommend us. So that's taking it to a very strong level. When I was selling, and obviously my cards have changed now, but on the back of my card I had 9 out of 10 customers recommend me to their friends. Please don't be surprised if you feel you'd like to do the same thing.
Wow.
That's a bit cheeky, but hey, welcome to my Billy T. James world. You know, I work with humour. But I would put it out there and just sort of go, look, 9 out of 10 of my clients do recommend me to other people, so it's a conversation we'll obviously be having. And they go, okay then. And I just put it out up front, and it's what I call sowing the seeds. Too many people get to the end of a long process, and with all the rigor that we've got to have with our clients, where we have to read disclaimers and we've got to declare this and that and the other, it's not getting any shorter. After a couple of hours with a client, if you sit there and go, by the way, if you know anybody that needs me, yeah. If you treat it with that sort of amount of throwaway respect, they will treat it back the same way. So for me, one ridiculously serious rule is you plant the seed, you plant the seed, you plant the seed, and you work this as a process all the time. Now, I don't remember how long ago now, but there was a wonderful lady who won the Professional Advisors Association Broker of the Year, and she said the one key I did was to take a sticker with I Love Referrals and stick it next to every single place they signed. And I've used that as a process now very successfully. There are many things you can do on the sign-off of your emails. We're never too busy to help your friends. When you put up case studies, Mrs. Jones, who was recommended by a very good friend who also liked our service, when you open up your conversation with your clients, you can say things like, Steve, one of the things I do when I see a client for the very first time is make them so happy that at the end of the process, when they think of other people that can use the sort of service I provide, they're really comfortable in coming forward and offering those people's names. But I have to earn that, and that's what we're going to start doing right now. Put it up there as part of your conversation, as part of your lead-in. Remind people. Now let me show you how simple it can be, and I hope this shows up. This is a very, very simple piece of purple cardboard, and I'll just come a bit further back so we can get it into the picture.
Fully purple?
You did it seriously as an advisor with every single call. So I would turn up, set up, pop up the laptop, pull out the bits of paper, start my process, and I would pull this out and I would place it on the table. And people would go, what's that? Okay, don't worry about that. We'll come back to that. Okay. And as it got boring and people ignored it, I would occasionally knock it off the table, pick it up, put it back. What is that? Don't worry, we'll come back to that. It's all good. And I would have multiple calls. So at the end of the first call, I'd pack that up with everything else, and they go, but we'll do it next time. It's okay. Sorry, we won't forget it. I promise it. We'll do it. I turn up for the next appointment. Clock, back on the table. He's got it out again. They actually never let me out without going, look, what is the purple thing? I want to know what it is. Oh, thanks for asking. It's just a piece of paper saying, don't forget to ask. And they go, ask about what? Well, now that you mention it. Now that sounds like a ridiculously silly, simple process, but I never ever left a sale without raising referrals because of that piece of purple paper. That's how simple a process can be. But boy, a piece of purple paper like that was worth literally maybe 150, 160 policies a year from referrals. And I've seen advisor groups use different things, but you need something to make sure that you don't forget it. Sow that seed all the way through and bring it up. And for me, if you can have a bit of fun with things like that, why not? Because I like to keep things light and I like to keep things moving. And it gave me a break in my presentation just to get a laugh and a few things like that going on. So from that point of view, number one, make sure you have processes like that in place so that you do not forget to ask, and the customer has an expectation that you are going to ask. Sow the seeds all the time. When you find them a good mortgage broker, if you're not one, then they say, oh, he was great. You say, and that's what I do for everybody. So anybody you recommend to me will get that same sort of service. You know, when you find them someone who will pick up all their gear and move it to their new house, they go, oh, he was a really good mover. No, we love to do those extra things for everybody, and we'd do the same for anybody you thought we could work with as well. You just keep throwing it out in your conversation the whole time, the whole time, the whole time. And the other last thought before we wrap this up is to make sure you plant the seed almost as an agenda. Say, well, Steve, obviously we've got to go through a lot of things tonight. This is all about what you're looking for and me matching your needs to the budget you've got and making sure you're as happy as you can be. But what I would like to do at the end of this whole process is just add 5 minutes just to chat to you about other people that you might know that would enjoy the same sort of value that we will have given you once we've earned that right. So let's do that, and let's get going. So I would also build it in as part of my agenda, whether it's at the end of a first call or second call. Hi Steve, Bill James, yep, we haven't seen for 6 months. I told you I was going to keep giving you a little prod and make sure we got you as well covered as we could. So time to pop out and see you. And while I'm there, if you've got a few minutes, there may well be other people that you think about that might just want the sort of stuff I've got. So if you're okay with that, let's spend a couple of minutes on that as well. Throw it out there as part of your process. And if you keep doing that, your customers will very soon get the idea that you want referrals. The wonderful thing is that there is so much low-hanging fruit. When you start this process with your existing clients, they go, I didn't know you wanted clients. Sure. You get so much business in your first 6 months of asking. You won't believe you didn't do it before, because it's all been sitting there waiting for you up till now to ask. So there's a real windfall coming your way if you try these ideas. And then once you've had that windfall, you're so practiced, then it starts to settle into a nice routine and a rhythm of new business that you can turn off and on, because when you're starting to get a bit skinny, well, just go out and have a cup of coffee and have a chat to your clients and ask them for referrals. And if we average 105 for every 100 people asked, you might get 3 from one and none from the next, and 1 from the next, and none from the next, and 2 from the next. But go out and have 10 cups of coffees with 10 good clients. Go get yourself 10 referrals. Make yourself 4 or 5 sales. Make it a process. It'll pay dividends.
Fantastic, Bill. I felt like I was just sitting there saying, "Wow, that whole talk. So many gems in there." And you'll see this transcripted version of this below. Read it, go through it, see all the different pieces. 2 things that really jumped up for me is people do love to give referrals. It's like when you go to a fantastic restaurant and the service has been amazing, you love telling your friends about it. It's the same in the advice industry, and the more you can actually remind people of that it is a similar correlation, people are willing to give it. If you've given a great service, you deserve referrals. The second thing that always comes to mind as well is around the process, is that if you can get it going, then it's really important to just keep on driving the process, to actually make it succeed. Don't worry about the end result. Make sure you ask the question. Even if the first 5 say no, keep asking it. So thank you very much, Bill. It's been a fantastic little talk, and we'll be back in the next episode of the series shortly. See you guys.